What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Tuesday, August 6th. Monday was a little bit up and down, guys. We finished it off with a solid win there. We had the Reds minus 125. They came through with a 10-3 win with 15 hits and a great start there from Martinez. We missed on the Astros minus 126. That was a bad beat for sure. They had the bases loaded twice late. They scored maybe one run out of that whole thing and then gave up a 2-run home run to walk it off for the other team there in the 10th inning. So pretty devastating collapse there for the Astros to lose that game against the Rangers. We had the Twins minus 115. That was a dominant 3-0 shutout for the Twins, so put that one on the board. We'll definitely take that. We also had the Oakland A's minus 1.5 against the White Sox at plus 125. A comfortable 5-1 win there. We also had the over in that game, unfortunately, though, and that did not come through with only 6 total runs being scored. Needed a couple more to get across the plate, but overall a 3-2 day there with a plus 125 pick mixed in there. We will certainly take that. Let's get back to work here, guys, but before we jump into the games for today, just a heads up, I'm going to be traveling to Scotland from August 12th to 20th, but don't worry, we're still going to have content every day. There will be a new NFL video every day with our week 1 first looks and our season outlook on every single team, and I will also be posting my favorite MLB picks for each day in the pinned comments on those videos and also in community posts. Any questions about this, please let me know in the comments. Take a second and hit that like button, guys. It's a thank you for all the free content, and it only takes 1 second. If you like these videos, go ahead and join our community by subscribing so you don't miss out on our daily content. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description and go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We are committed to responding to every single comment every day, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Arizona Diamondbacks going on the road to take on the Cleveland Guardians. The Diamondbacks come into this game fresh off a 7-6 win at Cleveland in game 1 of this series. At 61-52 on the year, they're charging pretty hard. They're only 4.5 games back there in the NL West. They're hitting the ball in this game to Eduardo Rodriguez. He's going to be making his MLB debut for 2024 here. Last season, he put up some very solid numbers, so expecting pretty good stuff from him in this one. Obviously, I mean, coming off of an injury, coming off the IL, it can be a little bit rough, but I think we can relatively, seriously expect good things from him. I mean, he put up good numbers last year, 13-9 with a 3.30 ERA. Nothing wrong with that. So we'll see what we get from this big left-hander up there in terms of the Arizona bullpen. They come into this game looking pretty decent, guys. They've been trending in a positive direction. Obviously, their last game, maybe not quite so hot, but a 4.30 bullpen ERA is better than they were early in the season. So give them a little bit of credit there. And the bats stay hot, guys. 7, 6, 2, 9, 5, and 17 runs, respectively, over their last several games. This is just a machine of an offense, guys. They are 3rd in the majors in runs scored, 4th in the majors, batting .258 as a team. They're also 4th in the majors in on-base percentage. So, yeah, I mean, obviously seeing Marino go out with that groin strain, not a great look. But other than that, guys, there's no reason to expect this offense to slow down anytime soon. They are absolutely killing the ball right now. So we'll see what they can do going up against the Guardians, who come into this game fresh off of a 3rd straight loss. They're hitting the ball in this game to Ben Lively, who comes into this game 10-6 on the season with a 3.42 ERA. His last start was a good one against Baltimore, guys. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs allowed. He did give up a home run in that game, but we saw Cleveland win that one 10-3. So good stuff there. He hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any of his last 4 outings. Back on the 9th, he had a bad outing against the Tigers, but over his last 4, guys, he has been lights out. The Cleveland bullpen's been pretty much lights out all season long, guys. A 2.65 bullpen ERA coming out of the pen. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. No problems there. Best in the league pretty much all season long. The bats have been putting up some numbers, just the pitching staff hasn't been able to really help them out too much. I mean, 6, 5, 4, and 8 runs scored over their last few games. That's not terrible for this team that's 12th in the majors in runs scored and 17th in the majors in batting average. So, not exactly an amazing hitting team, but not terrible. And if their, starting pitching can get a little bit straightened out, things should be headed in a positive direction. So they're hoping for a good start from Ben Lively in this game. Looking at the numbers for this one, guys, the Diamondbacks at minus 106, the Guardians at minus 105. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Arizona 29-27 on the road. Cleveland is 35-17 at home, so a great home team. In terms of the side in this game, guys, I'm leaning pretty much towards the Guardians in this spot. I think we're going to see a good start from Ben Lively. He hasn't faced Cleveland yet this season, so no major concerns there. And yeah, I mean, their bullpen's obviously very, very good and maybe in a little bit of a bounce back spot, so expecting good stuff from him in that one. Overall, the over-under is probably the better pick in this game, in my opinion, though. We see both teams showing trends towards the over, with Cleveland being 31, 19, and 3 to the over at home. We got an over-under of only 8.5 in this game, so over also looks good. The Guardians or the over, those both have a chance to end up in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Cincinnati Reds going on the road to take on the Miami Marlins. The Reds come into this game fresh off of a dominant 10-3 win there at Miami in Game 1 of this series. We saw De La Cruz look fantastic in that game. They're up to 54 and 58 on the year, so still lots of work to do. Handing the ball to Nick Lodolo in this one. He's 8-4 this season with a 3.99 ERA. His last start, guys, was an absolute debacle against the Cubs. 5 2/3 innings, 11 hits, 8 earned runs allowed. So he's probably pretty excited to be going up against the Marlins, a team he had a decent start against back on the 14th. I mean, 4 2/3 innings and 2 earned runs allowed, not exactly dominant stuff. He clearly didn't have his best stuff in that game. So if we can see him, get back on track a little bit in this one, I expect him to have a very good outing. In general, the Reds bullpen is one that we've got a good amount of confidence in. A 3.68 ERA coming out of the pen definitely has it in the top 10 in the majors. And yeah, when this team hits the ball, good things happen. Not something you can necessarily pencil in as going to happen 100% of the time, but I mean, they have their moments. They're 15th in the majors in runs scored, but 28th in batting average and 26th in on-base percentage. They've scored 10, 2, 6, 0, and 4 runs respectively over their last several games, but seems like they're maybe getting back on track here a little bit. They're going up against the Marlins in this game. Obviously not a team that's having a great time. They're 42 and 71 this season. Handing the ball in this one to Max Meyer, who's 2-1 on the year with a 3.81 ERA. His last start was at Atlanta. He didn't have a great time. 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, and 3 home runs allowed. So, not necessarily his best stuff in that one. This is only going to be his 3rd start since coming back up to the majors after pitching in the majors a little bit in April. But yeah, generally speaking, he's been fine, but not dominant in any of his starts. Overall, we felt pretty good about that Miami bullpen. I mean, better than you would think. A 3.72 ERA coming out of the pen is not a disaster, especially for a team that's having, a pretty freaking bad season. Yeah, not a lot of great things to say about this Miami offense either. They did have a relatively good time in 2 of their games at Atlanta, so we'll give them some credit there, but only 3 runs in Game 1 of this series. And yeah, getting rid of your best offensive player at the trade deadline isn't a great look for your offense. And 29th in the majors in runs scored, 2nd to last in slugging percentage, and 2nd to last in on-base percentage as well. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, no major shocker here to see the Reds at -155, the Marlins at +134. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. The Reds are only 25 and 27 on the road, so not a good road record. Miami is 22 and 34 at home, so obviously not very good at home. We see mixed trends towards the over-under here, with the Marlins actually being 39, 16, and 2 to the over at home. That's an MLB best to the over when playing at home, and with an over-under of only 8 in this game, I guess you could take a look at the over, but I do think the Reds -155 are a much better bet in this exact spot. You could also take a look at them -1.5, because I think they're going to continue hitting the ball in this situation. And if you take a -1.5, you can get them up to +110. So that's relatively appealing. Generally speaking, though, I think we're going to lean probably just towards the Reds -155 and not do the -1.5, but that's kind of a pick your own adventure situation there. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the San Diego Padres going on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Padres come into this game fresh off of winning 2 out of 3 there against the Colorado Rockies. They are up to 61 and 52 on the year, only 4.5 games behind the Dodgers there in the NL West. They're handing the ball in this game to Dylan Cease, who's 11 and 8 this season with a 3.42 ERA, coming off of his no-hitter there against Washington, guys. He had a pretty reasonable start against the Dodgers. 5 2/3 innings, 3 hits, only a single earned run allowed. He did walk 3 in that game. This guy can have some, control issues, but he struck out 6, and against a team like the Dodgers, you'll definitely take that, especially in a game we eventually saw the Padres win 8-1. So expecting good stuff from Cease. We've seen this bullpen kind of trending in a positive direction, but a 4.10 bullpen ERA over the course of the season isn't exactly filling me with a ton of confidence. But like I said, over the last few games, they've looked fine. The bats have awakened for the Padres, guys. 10, 3, 2, 8, 6, and 6 runs respectively over their last few games. They're 10th in the majors in runs scored, 1st in the majors in batting average, 8th in the majors, getting on base at a 324 clip. Like, no question about it, this is definitely a very solid offensive team. So we'll see what they can do here going up against the Pirates, who come into this game fresh off a loss against the Diamondbacks. They lost 2 out of 3 in that series to fall to 56 and 55 on the year. They're only 6 games back of Milwaukee there in the NL Central, so this is still a team with some hope. They're handing the ball to Bailey Falter, who's 5 and 7 this year with a 3.95 ERA. His last start was a good one, guys. A little bit of a bounce back after a very rough, very short outing against the Mets. At Houston, back on the 30th, 5 1/3 innings, 6 hits, only a single earned run allowed. He did allow 2 runs total, but generally speaking, he looked pretty good in that one, and we don't have a lot of bad things to say about him over his last, 5 starts or so. He's looked pretty good. No starts this season against the Padres, though, so nothing we can look at there. In terms of their bullpen, the Pirates have had some problems, guys. A 4.35 bullpen ERA over the course of the season has them like 26th in the majors or something like that. Over the last few games, maybe it's just been a hair better, but not a lot, not enough that it can really, sway me to thinking this is a bullpen that we can trust. So a lot is going to fall on the Pirates offense right now, and they've been hitting the ball, guys, 5, 4, 8, 4, and 6 runs respectively over their last few is pretty good for an offense that is currently tied for 21st in the majors in runs scored. They're only hitting 233 as a team. Their on base percentage is only 301. That's 25th in the majors. Just not a lot of amazing things to say about this offense outside of guys like Brian Reynolds. So looking at the numbers of this game, we see the Padres at -160, the Pirates at +136. We got an over-under of 8 in this game. The Padres are 29-24 to the under on the road, which is kind of surprising given they are a big over team at home. The Pirates are 29-24-2 to the under at home. So with both teams showing trends towards the under, I guess you could take a look at under 8, but that seems pretty small to me. San Diego being a good road team at 30-23 on the road is definitely something worth taking into consideration, and at -160 that does seem a bit expensive. If you think that the Padres offense can just overwhelm the Pirates, you might want to take a look at them -1.5, or you can get them at +100. So generally speaking, leaning towards the Padres on the road in this game. I think they've got a definitely a pitching mismatch for them, and their bullpen is looking better than the Pirates bullpen at this point. So go ahead and give me the Padres, maybe even take them at -1.5. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the San Francisco Giants going on the road to take on the Washington Nationals. The Giants come into this game fresh off of a solid 4-1 win there in Game 1 of this series. They're up to 57-57 on the year, so I guess they'll take that. Obviously, still a lot of work to do. They're handing the ball in this one to Hayden Birdsong. This 22-year-old has been great since coming up to the majors, guys. His last start was a dominant one against the Rockies. Honestly, over his last 5 starts, he's looked very, very good. He hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any of those outings, and we see the Giants are 3-2 in those starts. Those 2 losses, not really his fault, guys. He has looked just very, very good out there. A sub-3 ERA with 3 wins and no losses for a dude that's only 22 years old. Pretty crazy stuff. So expecting good stuff from Birdsong in this game, generally speaking, although he is young, so you have to be a little bit worried about some inconsistency. But the Giants bullpen is another concern, but they're trending in a positive direction too, guys. A 4.23 bullpen ERA definitely leaves plenty of room for improvement, but they're headed in the right direction, and they're coming off of a very good game. Actually, a couple good games there, so gonna give them some credit here. Also some credit to this offense that scored 4, 8, 4, 3, and 1 runs respectively over their last few games. Obviously not putting up elite numbers, but over the course of the season, they've been slightly above average, so we're going to give some credit. I mean, Matt Chapman's looking good out there, and generally speaking, this is a very solid team. I mean, Chapman's hit home runs in 3 straight games. That's pretty crazy stuff. They're 14th in the majors in runs scored and 14th in the majors in batting average. So we'll see if they can keep rolling here against the Nationals, who come into this game fresh off of that loss. They had won 2 out of 3 there against Milwaukee, but not getting off to a good start in this series. They're handing the ball to Mackenzie Gore, who's 6-9 this year with a 4.54 ERA. His last start was against the Diamondbacks. 8 hits over 5 1/3 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, so not amazing. His start before that, he got shelled by the Cardinals. Just not somebody that fills me with a ton of confidence at this exact moment. He hasn't faced the Giants yet this season, so nothing to be gleaned from that. But generally speaking, how do we feel about the Nationals bullpen? Well, guys, they're 25th now in the majors with a 4.37 ERA. They have not been having a good time. In the middle of the season, or a little bit earlier maybe, this was a bullpen that looked pretty decent, but right now that is not what's going on. And the offense, while they did all right in that series against Milwaukee, did not get off to a good start in this series, and over the course of the year have definitely had their problems. 18th in the majors in runs scored, 26th in the majors in slugging percentage. Not a lot of power numbers to fall back on. They're a middle of the road batting average team. Not a lot of sluggers that really scare me on this roster. So not too surprising here, guys. We see the Giants as favorites at -120. The Nationals are +104 with an over-under of 9 out there. The Giants are only 23-33 on the road. That's not great. Not great road numbers for them this season. Washington's only 25-29 at home. Also not amazing home numbers. We see mixed trends towards the over-under here. I mean, the Giants are a big over team on the road, but I don't know if the over is really a spot I'm interested in this game. I guess it would be my slight lean, but better than that, guys, I like the Giants -120 in this spot a very good amount. Birdsong has been so good out there. Washington not swinging the hottest bats. We see the Giants bats heating up a little bit here. So yeah, expecting a comfortable Giants win in this game. You could honestly think about taking a -120. I probably won't because the price of -120 is pretty reasonable. So taking them -1.5 in this game. You can get them up to +135, +125, somewhere in that region. So I wouldn't blame you for that. We're probably just going to ride with them -120 though. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Los Angeles Angels going on the road to take on the New York Yankees. The Angels come into this game winners of 2 out of 3 there against the Mets. Pretty crazy stuff in that series. They're 49-63 on the year, so not headed anywhere important this season. Hitting the ball to Davis Daniel, who's 1-2 on the year with a 4.91 ERA. He's only making his 5th start of the season. His last time out was a good start against the Rockies in a game we eventually saw the Angels lose 2-1, so not a great look there. Honestly, he's had 2 really good starts and 2 really bad starts this season. A definite Jekyll and Hyde style of starter, so we'll see what we get from him in this one. Not really expecting miracles going up against the Yankees. Also, not really expecting miracles out of that Angels bullpen, guys. A 4.31 bullpen ERA for a bullpen that's been pretty bad over the course of the season. They didn't have a terrible series against the Mets. I'll give them some credit there, but not really a bullpen that I'm very high on, and not an offense that I'm very high on either, to be honest. I mean, they're 26th in the majors in runs scored this season. They're batting .235 as a team, so that's not great. Not a ton of sluggers on this offense that I'm super hyped about. They scored 3, 5, 1, 4, and 1 runs, respectively, over their last few games. Just not swinging the hottest bats. So looking at their opponent in this game, the Yankees probably feel like they're in for a good time after winning 2 out of 3 against the Toronto Blue Jays, albeit in some closer games than you would have expected. They're 67-46 on the year. Handing the ball to Luis Gil in this game, he's 11-5 on the season with a 3.20 ERA. His last start was against the Phillies. Maybe not his ultra best stuff, guys. 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs. Against a team like the Phillies will cut you a little bit of slack. They're a pretty good hitting team, but none of that really mattered with the Yankees scoring 14 runs and winning that game 14-4. So very good stuff there and reasonable stuff from Gil. He has not faced the Angels yet this season, so it's his first time going up against them. I don't think there's too much to be gleaned from that information. Generally speaking, how do we feel about the Yankees bullpen? I mean, they're still 4th in the majors with a 3.49 bullpen ERA, and they're coming off a decent series there against the Blue Jays, albeit not a very hard-hitting Blue Jays team, but still. So we're going to give some credit here to the Yankees bullpen. Also, lots of credit to this offense that seems like it's pretty much back on track. Aaron Judge just looking like an absolute insane monster out there at the plate. They've scored 4, 8, 5, 6, and 7, and 14 runs over their last few games. Like, hitting the ball pretty freaking well, guys. Not a lot of doubt in that. This has been one of the best offensive teams in the majors all season long. They're currently 1st in runs scored and 1st in on-base percentage. They're 3rd in slugging percentage. Like, lots of reasons to like this offense, especially in this matchup. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Angels at +210, the Yankees at -238. We've got an over-under of 9 out there. The Angels are only 23-28 on the road. The Yankees are down to 29-24 at home, so that's a little bit concerning, but I do think this is a game that definitely favors the Yankees. Obviously, I mean, given those numbers, not a big surprise there. If you take the Yankees -1.5, you get them around -125. That seems relatively reasonable to me. I do think the Yankees are going to have a pretty good time at the plate here against Davis Daniel, and they're coming off of an off day on Monday, so they should be charged up and ready to go back at home for this one, or still at home for this one. They've been at home for quite some time, so expecting good things from the Yankees in this one. Taking a -1.5, definitely on the short list of plays for today. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Baltimore Orioles going on the road to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. The Orioles come into this game fresh off of splitting a 4-game series there at Cleveland. They lost the first 2 games, then won the second 2, so they'll take that. At 47-46 on the year, they're still tied with the Yankees there atop the AL East. They're handing the ball to Grayson Rodriguez in this game. He's 13-4 this season with a 3.86 ERA. His last start was against the Toronto Blue Jays. Not his best stuff out there, guys. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 runs overall. He walked 3 and struck out 8, so, not a disaster out there by any stretch, but yeah, not his best stuff. He gets to go up against the Blue Jays again, though, so we'll see if he can improve on that a little bit, pitching at Toronto this time instead of at home. I mean, Grayson Rodriguez, definitely a plus-level starter. Not expecting him to have too much trouble here, despite the fact he got a little bit touched up the last time he faced the Blue Jays. We are a little bit concerned about the Orioles bullpen. A 3.98 ERA coming out of the pen is not great, but it seems like it's headed slightly in the right direction after those last 2 games against Cleveland, so we'll see what they can do, but the main strength, the main thing we want to look at, the main thing we care about for this Orioles team is their offense, guys. They've scored 9, 7, 4, 3, 10, and 6 runs, respectively, over their last few games. They're 2nd in the majors in runs scored, 1st in the majors in slugging percentage, a spot they've held on to basically all season long. They are 5th in the majors, batting .256 as a team, and yeah, guys, this is just a roster that's loaded with dudes that can hit, so expecting good stuff from them, generally speaking, in this game. They're going up against the Blue Jays, who haven't been having a great time, losing 4 out of their last 5. They're 51-61 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Chris Bassett, who's 10-8 this year with a 4.02 ERA. His last start was against Baltimore, too, guys. It was at Camden Yards. 4 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs allowed. He gave up a home run in that game, and he's given up home runs in each of his last 3 starts, so that's not exactly ideal kind of numbers. Back-to-back starts against Baltimore probably doesn't feel great. Those sluggers getting another look at you has to feel a little bit rough. Also, a little bit rough, guys, is that Toronto bullpen. They are 27th in the majors with a 5.02 ERA. That is not a very reliable bullpen whatsoever. The offense seems like it's back offline, guys. They scored 3, 3, 8, 4, and 2 runs respectively over their last 5 games. Obviously, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a plus level hitter, but other than that, not a lot of good pieces on this offense. I mean, they're 24th in the majors in runs scored and 18th in the majors in batting average for a reason. Not a great hitting team. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Orioles at minus 140, the Blue Jays at plus 125. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Baltimore is 33 and 21 on the road this season, so very good road numbers. Toronto 26 and 28 at home. That's not a disaster. Looking at the over-under, though, guys, we see some very interesting numbers. Baltimore is 34, 17, and 3 to the over when playing on the road. That is an MLB best number to the over when playing away from home. And Toronto is 31, 22, and 1 to the over at home. So yeah, a lot of over trends in this game. And with an over-under of only 8.5, it didn't get up to 9. I think we're definitely interested in that over 8.5. I'm also very interested in the Baltimore Orioles minus 1.5 in this game. If you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at plus 115, plus 110, plus 115, somewhere in there. That seems extremely reasonable going up against a starter they had success against in one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. So I can pretty much guarantee one of those plays is going to end up in the pinned comment here, especially with Grayson Rodriguez on the mound. I'm expecting to see very good things from Baltimore. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Milwaukee Brewers going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. The Brewers come into this game fresh off of losing 2 out of 3 at Washington. They lost the last 2 games of that series. They lost 4-3 and 6-4 in the last 2 games. They're down to 62 and 49 on the year. Lucky for them, it's been a down year in the NL Central, so they've got a 6-game cushion over Pittsburgh and St. Louis. They're handing the ball in this one to Colin Ray, who's 9-3 on the year with a 3.59 ERA. His last start was ironically against the Atlanta Braves, guys, and he looked good out there. 5 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs allowed. He did give up 2 home runs, so that's a bit problematic, but it was a game we eventually saw Milwaukee win 8-3. So good stuff from Colin Ray in that last one, and it was against Atlanta, so we're expecting relatively good stuff from him again in this one. In terms of their bullpen, the Milwaukee bullpen, maybe not as lights out as it's been at other points this season, but still very, very good. A 3.29 ERA coming out of the pen. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's 3rd best in the MLB. The offense has absolutely vanished, though, guys. That's been the big problem. They've scored 3, 4, 8, 2, and 1 runs, respectively, over their last, 5 games? Yeah, their 3-game series against Atlanta, they scored a grand total of 3 runs in the last 2 games. And no big surprise, they lost both of those. So we'll see what they can do here at the plate. Obviously still missing Yelich. It's going to take a while to absorb and forget about that loss. They are 17th in the majors in batting average, 3rd in the majors in on-base percentage, getting on base at a 330 clip. Still putting up some pretty good counting numbers, but the numbers that really count is how often can you get those batters across the plate. So looking at their opponent in this game, we've got the Braves coming into this one 60 and 51 on the year, fresh off of losing 2 out of 4 in that 4-game series against the Marlins. Yeah, they can't feel too great about that, guys. Just had to move Lopez to the IL with forearm inflammation. They're handing the ball to Bryce Elder in this game. He's 2-4 on the season with a 5.67 ERA. His last start was at Milwaukee, guys. 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, only a single earned run allowed. It was a big bounce back after 2 pretty problematic starts in a row. So we'll see if he can have a good time here against Milwaukee, 2 starts in a row. In terms of their bullpen, obviously the Atlanta bullpen's been fantastic all season long. A 2.95 ERA coming out of the pen. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. It was not their fault they lost. That's those 2 games against the Marlins, guys. That was mostly the offense completely disappearing. They scored 0 and 3 runs respectively over those last 2 games. They're down to 23rd in the majors in runs scored, 23rd in the majors in on base percentage, getting on base at a 303 clip, and they're only batting 239 as a team. So major questions about this offense that leans way too heavily on Marcell Ozuna. If he's not out there putting up big numbers, this team not going to have a great time. So looking at the numbers for this game in general, we see the Brewers at plus 120, the Braves at minus 134. We've got over-unders out there of 9 or 8.5. Milwaukee 31 and 28 on the road. Atlanta a very respectable 32 and 23 at home. In the side in this game, we're leaning pretty heavily towards the Brewers plus 120. I'm not putting in the pin comment. I don't trust the Brewers right now. I don't trust that offense. So honestly, you could definitely talk me into an under 9 in this game also. But yeah, I'm staying away from this one overall. Lean is definitely under 9, especially with Atlanta being 36, 18, and 1 to the under at home. And both of these pitchers having good history against their opponent. But it's not going in the pin comment. I need to see some real stuff from the Brewers before I trust them any farther than I can throw them. Next up, guys, we got the Tampa Bay Rays going on the road to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. The Rays come into this game fresh off of winning 2 out of 3 there at Houston. They're 57-54 on the year, handing the ball to Jeffrey Springs, who comes into this game making his second appearance of the season. It's going to be his second start. His first start, not so hot against the Miami Marlins, guys. 3 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs. It was a game we eventually saw Tampa Bay win 9-3, so they'll take the result, but yeah, probably not 100% happy with his first start this season, but we could see better stuff from him as he rounds into form and works his way into the season. The Tampa Bay bullpen may be trending slightly in the right direction, guys. I mean, at this point, they're down to a 4.06 bullpen ERA, so much better than they've been at other points this season. The offense, not exactly cranking out runs. They've scored 1, 6, 2, 2, and 9 runs, respectively, over their last few games. Not an offense that's trending in the right direction, guys. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored, 24th in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, just not a ton of guys that they're running up there are ones that I'm going to be scared of at the plate. So we'll see how they fare here going up against the St. Louis Cardinals, who come into this game having a rough time. They've lost 4 out of the last 5 games. They just got shut out by the Mets. Not good stuff there. That was a makeup game, so only playing 1 game against the Mets. They're 57-56 on the year, 6 games back of Milwaukee in the NL Central. They're handing the ball to their ace. Sonny Gray's taking them out in this one. He's 10-6 this season with a 3.72 ERA. His last start, guys, he finally got back on track. The Cardinals bats didn't help him out, but he, at Wrigley Field, guys, 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs allowed. He only gave up a single walk, had 9 strikeouts in that game. Just very, very good stuff, albeit against a bad Cubs team, but still, he has to feel pretty good about how he threw the ball in that game, and he can't be too terrified to be taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Not exactly the scariest team, so we'll see what he can do. We'll also see what that Cardinals bullpen can do. They've been having a little bit of a struggle lately, guys. They're still sitting with a 3.61 bullpen ERA, which is good, but not having the best time. They've had some losses lately, some blown saves, stuff like that. So yeah, a little bit questionable, and the offense has deserted them, guys. They've scored 0, 2, 5, 3, and 4 runs respectively over their last few games. That series at Wrigley Field, that 4-game series there, did not go the way we would have guessed it would go. And yeah, they're still 21st in the majors in runs scored, 19th in the majors in on-base percentage. The batting average numbers keep creeping up, so I've still got some hope for this offense, but man, not a whole lot. They are a little bit better at home though, so they should have some sort of shot in this game. The odds makers definitely think they do, guys. We've got the Rays at plus 124, the Cardinals at minus 140. We've got an over-under of only 7.5 in this game. Tampa Bay 27-25 on the road, the Cardinals 28-26 at home. We see mixed trends towards the over-under and no real huge trends either. Generally speaking, in this one, guys, I'm leaning towards the Cardinals minus 140. I don't trust that bullpen enough or that offense enough to take a minus 1.5 or anything like that. And honestly, I just don't trust the Cardinals enough to put this at the pinned comment, but I do think we're going to see Sonny Gray at least put them in a good situation to win this game, so maybe taking the Cardinals in the first 5 would be a reasonable play. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Houston Astros going on the road to take on the Texas Rangers. We saw the Astros absolutely blow it for us there in Game 1 of their series at the Rangers, guys. They lost 4-3. Devastating stuff there. They should have won that game. They should have scored a ton of runs. They left the bases loaded like a million times, or scored like 1 run and left the bases loaded. Like, very annoying stuff there from the Astros, who are now 57-55 on the year, a game and a half back of Seattle in the AL West. They're hitting the ball to Framber Valdez in this game, who's 10-5 on the season with a 3.56 ERA. His last start was against the Pirates, 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. The Astros are 5-0 over his last 5 starts, so we'll give him some credit there. But yeah, he didn't exactly throw the ball amazing in his last start against the Pirates. That was back when the Astros knew how to hit the ball, apparently, though. So, I mean, congrats to him for getting the, helping his team get the win there. In terms of their bullpen, the Houston bullpen, not a disaster. A 3.68 ERA coming out of the pen is just fine. The offense, guys, the offense is so annoying. They just can't seem to push runners across the plate. They scored 3, 0, and 1 run, respectively, over their last few games. That 3 runs should have been enough, but they should have scored probably 6 or 7 runs in this game. Just very annoying stuff. Not an offense that I can trust, despite the fact they're 3rd in the majors in batting average. So, oh well, what are we going to see from the Astros offense? Who freaking knows, guys? They're going up against the Rangers in this game, who are 54-59 on the season. They're coming off of that win. They've won 2 out of their last 3. They're handing the ball in this one to Tyler Mayhill, who's going to be making his season debut, obviously coming off of the IL. This dude's 29 years old. Last season, he looked good in pretty limited action, so we'll see how he looks out there in this one. Not necessarily expecting him to go super deep into the game, but, I guess I would say expecting decent stuff, but really making your first start of the season, you were something of an unknown. In terms of their bullpen, the Rangers have not been great this season, guys. They are fourth from last in the majors, 26 in the MLB with a 4.46 bullpen ERA. So that's pretty rough stuff. In terms of their offense, they've scored 4, 2, 7, 6, and 1, and 1, and 6 runs over their last several games. I mean, getting Seager back has helped them. Josh Smith obviously hit that walk-off home run, so congratulations to him for that 2-run home run in the 10th inning to absolutely screw us over. Yeah, not our favorite offense, but also not a complete disaster. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Astros at minus 136, the Rangers at plus 116. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Houston is... I mean, this should be a Houston pick for sure, guys. I don't know if I'm going to take it. Very annoying with how poorly they've been hitting the ball recently. But going up against a guy making his first start of the season, I think they should have a good time. And yeah, Fernando Valdez has been very, very good and is a guy that can definitely, you can pretty much just trust him to get run support for some reason. Not sure why that always happens. He hasn't gone up against the Rangers this season, but he's in a little bit of a bounce back spot after a mediocre start against the Pirates. So I'm expecting good stuff from him. His last road start was a good one against Seattle, and he had a good road start against Toronto. So yeah, guys, this will be devastating if we actually have to go with this, but we may end up taking the Astros minus 136 as a pinned comment play. It's just too good of a spot against this guy, so yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Mayhill doesn't really fill me with tons of confidence, and the Rangers aren't swinging the bats great, so give me the Astros in this one. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Minnesota Twins going on the road here to take on the Chicago Cubs. The Twins come into this game 63-48 on the year after shutting out the Cubs 3-0 in Game 1 there at Wrigley Field. They're handing the ball to Pablo Lopez, who's 10-7 on the year with a 4.65 ERA. His last start was at the Mets, guys. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. He just continues this crazy run here of just looking very, very good. Ever since July 10th, he's just been lights out every single start, going deeper into the games than he normally goes and throwing the ball extremely well. So no reason not to expect great stuff here from Pablo Lopez with how he's been throwing the ball. The Twins bullpen has also been looking good recently, guys. They've got a 3.84 ERA coming out of the pen, and that's a number that is trending in the right direction. So that's all good news. The bats cooled off a little bit, scoring only 3 runs in this game, but 3 was plenty since they won 3-0, and Festa had a great outing there. I mean, they scored 3, 13, 6, 10, and 8 runs respectively over their last several games. They're tied for 5th in the majors in runs scored. They're the 8th best batting average team in the MLB. They are top 5 in slugging percentage. Like, this is an absolute monster offense, and once they get fully healthy, guys, this is a team that's going to be very, very scary to face there in the postseason. We're not sure when Correa is going to be back, but once he comes back, this offense is going to get even better. They're taking on the Cubs in this game, who have lost 2 out of their last 3. They just got shut out in their last one. They're 55-60 on the year, but they're handing the ball to Shota Imanaga in this game. He's 8-2 this season with a 3.09 ERA. His last start was against the Cardinals. He didn't have a great time out there, guys. 6 2/3 innings. He gave up 10 hits and 4 earned runs. He gave up 2 home runs in that game. His last 2 starts, honestly, have looked a little bit shaky, but for a guy that's been so good all year long, you can't really trust him to have another bad outing, guys. He has been fantastic this year, so we'll see what we get out of him. We'll also see what we get out of that Cubs bullpen that's been decent, a little bit better than middle of the road this season, a 3.70 ERA coming out of the pen. Nothing wrong with that. The offense, on the other hand, has not been great. Obviously, getting Bellinger back has helped, but yeah, I mean, 0, 6, 4, 6, and 5 runs over their last several games. Not exactly amazing. They're 16th in the majors in runs scored, but 24th in the majors in batting average, 18th in the majors in on-base percentage. Like, just not an offense that I'm super high on. So, looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Twins at minus 105, the Cubs at minus 108. We have an over-under in this game, guys, of 6.5. That is crazy, crazy low. That's wild stuff. Given this pitching matchup, though, it makes sense to me. Guys, in terms of the side in this game, I mean, the Cubs are a decent home team. Minnesota is 30-27 on the road, though, so that's not bad. We got Pablo Lopez out there for them, and he's been throwing the ball great. I think this is going to be a very close game. I do tend to lean, I mean, this could be a good no-run first inning spot as well, but I'm leaning towards the Twins minus 105. I honestly just don't trust the Cubs to score any runs in this game. In terms of the over-under, we do see mixed trends. The Cubs are 31-24-1 to the under at home, so if you really want to take under 6.5, I guess you could, but generally speaking, I'm going to lean towards the Twins and probably mostly leave this game alone. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Boston Red Sox going on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals. We saw Boston get the 9-5 win at Kansas City in Game 1 of this series, so a good start to the series for them. They are 60-51 on the year, 6 games back there in the AL East. They're handing the ball to Brian Bello, who's 10-5 this season with a 5.13 ERA. He's coming off of I guess a good start against the Mariners. 6 1/3 innings, 7 hits. He got out of there only allowing 2 earned runs, so that's pretty good. The last time he faced the Royals was back on the 14th of July. He went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 7 hits, 3 earned runs, and 2 home runs in that game. So can't be a matchup that he's super excited about, I wouldn't think. This dude's been a little bit inconsistent this year, but when you're pitching for the Red Sox, pretty often you're going to get bailed out by that offense. Their bullpen maybe not be doing a whole lot of bailing out, though, guys. A 4.04 bullpen ERA is something of a concern for a guy that's very likely to go 5, maybe 6 innings in this game. So if that's all he can give you, you're getting a lot of at-bats against a questionable Red Sox bullpen. The offense has been humming along, though, guys. 9, 7, 4, 11, 3, and 6 runs, respectively, over their last several games. They're a top 5 offense in runs scored. They're second in the majors in batting average. Like, this is a team that can absolutely kill it up there at the plate, no doubt about it. They're taking on the Royals, who come into this game fresh off of probably a disappointing loss. I mean, you don't want to be losing there 9-5 in a game. You know, Paxton out there, you have 18 hits. Like, that's pretty rough. They're handing the ball to Seth Lugo in this game, who's 13-5 this season with a 2.57 ERA. His last time out was a great start, guys. He went 8 innings against the Tigers, gave up only 4 hits and a single earned run in a game we eventually saw the Royals win 7-1. He had a 9-inning start against the White Sox back on the 21st. Like, this dude, it's a little bit concerning, to be honest. Like, he's coming off such a long start. After that complete game against the White Sox, he struggled in 6 1/3 innings against the Cubs. Now he goes 8 innings against Detroit, and he's got to pitch against Boston, a team that killed him back on the 13th, guys. Back on the 13th of July at Fenway, 5 innings, 10 hits, 5 earned runs for the Red Sox in a game we eventually saw the Royals lose 5-0. So that is a bit problematic if you ask me. Not super high on the Royals bullpen either, guys. 2 bullpens that are not great. Royals bullpen sporting a 4.20 ERA. That's not exactly getting the job done out there. The offense has been fine. I mean, 5, 3, 5, 9, and 7 runs respectively over their last few games. Bobby Witt Jr., obviously a monster. Salvador Perez with 20 home runs. Like, this is a top 10 offense pretty much any way you cut it. I mean, those on-base percentage numbers could use a little bit of work, but generally we can expect them to put up some runs. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Red Sox at plus 120, the Royals at minus 135. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. Boston is a very solid 32-23 on the road. The Royals are a very solid 36-22 at home. We see mixed trends towards the over-under here, with Boston being a big over team on the road and Kansas City trending towards being an over team at home. They're still 31-27 to the under, but those are mostly under numbers that were acquired early in the season. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game, guys. I'm pretty sure we like the over quite a bit in this spot. I think we're going to see plenty of offense. I also think that price on the Red Sox at plus 120 is pretty appealing. I mean, Lugo did not have a good time at Fenway, and while he might be much better at home, I mean, seems a little problematic to me. So we'll see if either one of these end up in the pinned comment, but over 9 looks pretty good to me. Both of these teams could cover 9 runs on their own, and yeah, if both teams get going at all, we'll easily see 10 plus runs in this game. Next on the docket, guys, we get the New York Mets going on the road to take on the Colorado Rockies. The Mets come into this game fresh off of a 6-0 win there in that makeup game against the Cardinals. They had just lost 2 out of 3 in a series at the Angels, so they probably don't feel great about that. They're 59-53 on the season, hitting the ball in this one to Luis Severino, who's 7-4 this year with a 3.93 ERA. He's coming off a pretty bad start against the Twins. 3 innings, 6 hits, 6 earned runs allowed, so not something you love to see. Although the last time he had a bad start, it was at Pittsburgh, and he bounced back with a really good start against Washington, so maybe we can ride him here in this bounce back spot. We'll have to wait and see, though. Generally speaking, not a guy that we have a ton of problem backing. He hasn't faced the Colorado Rockies yet this season, so nothing to be gleaned from that. In terms of their bullpen, that's been kind of a thorn in the side of this Mets team for most of the season, but things are turning around out there, guys. A 4.03 ERA coming out of the pen is not nearly the disaster that it was early in the season. In terms of their offense, obviously coming off a game they scored 6 runs, a much needed offensive outburst, guys. 6, 2, 4, 5, and 3 runs over their last several games. Not swinging the hottest bats right now, but maybe they're back on track after a good game there. I mean, they're 8th in the majors in runs scored, also 8th in the majors in slugging percentage, and 9th in the majors in on-base percentage. So definitely an offense with some pop out there. I mean, Pete Alonso, 23 home runs, definitely not something to turn your nose up at. They're going up against the Rockies, who come into this game fresh off of 2 losses there against the Padres. They did win 1 game in that series, so I guess they'll take it, but at 41-72 on the year, they've got a long way to go before this is a team we really care too much about. They're handing the ball in this one to Kyle Freeland, who comes into this game at 3-4 on the year with a 5.64 ERA. His last start was a very good one at the Angels, guys. 7 innings, 6 hits, only a single earned run allowed. His start for that at the Giants was pretty bad, though, and yeah, not a guy that we have a ton of faith in. He gives up a lot of hits. He does have the ability to pitch himself out of trouble on occasion, so we'll give him a little bit of credit, but not somebody that I have a crazy amount of faith in this game. Generally speaking, how do we feel about that Rockies bullpen? Well, guys, I'm sure you know this, but a 5.63 ERA coming out of the pen makes them the absolute worst bullpen in Major League Baseball. And we do see Freeland coming off of kind of an extended start, and the last time he had a long start, he gave up 8 hits over 6 2/3 innings at the Cincinnati Reds. So we'll see what Freeland can do in this one. We'll see if that Rockies bullpen can do anything positive. The offense, not swinging the hottest bats, guys. 4 runs combined over their last 2 games. They're 17th in the majors in runs scored and 16th in the majors in batting average, but 22nd in the majors in on-base percentage. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Mets at minus 160, the Rockies at plus 146. We've got an over-under of all the way up to 11 in this game. The Mets are 28 and 24 on the road. The Rockies are 24 and 27 at home. So they're a little bit better of a home team, to be honest. And Freeland hasn't been terrible out there. So in terms of the numbers for this game, none of these really get me going. I kind of want to take the Mets onto the impression that they're, back after it now and they get into play. Those sluggers are getting to play at Coors Field. But the Rockies are a little bit better at home. So this one's kind of a pick your own adventure situation. I guess go ahead and give me the Mets minus 160, but I've got very little faith in this one, and I've got no faith in the over-under of 11. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we're looking at the Chicago White Sox going on the road to take on the Oakland Athletics. The White Sox come to this game fresh off of another loss, a 5-1 loss there at Oakland in game 1 of this series. We kind of thought the over would hit in that game too. That didn't happen. Oakland couldn't get enough offense going, and the White Sox only chipped in 1 run. But yeah, we got the cover there with the A's minus 1.5, so we'll take that one. The White Sox are handing the ball to Jonathan Cannon in this game, hoping they can avoid a 22nd straight loss, which would break the AL record for consecutive losses. Cannon comes into this game 1-5 in the season with a 4.11 ERA. His last start, guys, was one of his best recently. 7 innings, only a single hit and a single earned run. It was a home run against the Kansas City Royals in a very close game that the White Sox eventually lost 4-3. Obviously, this is a 24-year-old guy. We're expecting inconsistency here. Expect inconsistency, and you won't be disappointed. He hasn't taken on the A's yet this season, so we'll see what he can do out there. Maybe he's back on track, but also maybe that was just a little bit of a flash in the pan for a guy that's got to be getting tired at the end of a long season. The White Sox bullpen is obviously horrendous. Nothing to say about that. And their offense is the worst in the majors, and it's not particularly close. Last in runs scored, batting .217 as a team. That is also last, getting on base at a .277 percentage. That is also last. So nothing good to say about this offense here. They're taking on the Athletics, who come into this game 47 and 67 on the year, handing the ball to Ross Stripling, who's 2-10 this season with a 5.64 ERA. His last start, though, is a very good one at the Giants. 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, only a single earned run. His 3 starts before that were all pretty problematic, and it's not exactly like this dude has had a great season. He hasn't pitched against the White Sox, so we'll see what he can do in this one. In terms of their bullpen, the A's bullpen's actually better than you would have guessed at the beginning of the season, guys. Easily top 10 in the majors with a 3.67 ERA coming out of the pen, and obviously they had a pretty good time in game 1 of this series, so I would say you could expect similar things here in game 2. Offensively, the A's are better than you would think as well. They've got some decent power numbers and stuff like that. They're only batting .231 as a team, but they've scored 5, 2, 0, 6, and 0 runs respectively over their last few games, so not exactly swinging the hottest bats. Kind of thought game 1 would be an offensive outburst. That might happen here in game 2. We'll just have to wait and see. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the White Sox at plus 150, the A's at minus 170. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. I just don't feel like there's a lot of fight left in the White Sox at this point. I mean, they're 10 and 47 on the road. That's the worst record in the MLB this season. No major shocker there. Oakland is 27 and 29 at home. Nothing wrong with that. We do see both teams showing slight trends towards the over, and with an over-under of only 8, you could talk me into the over again in this game. But generally speaking, guys, I think we're just going to go back to the well here and take the Athletics minus 1.5. You take them minus 1.5, you can get them at plus 120, plus 115. Yeah, guys, this may have to go in the pinned comment. I mean, we've got Stripling coming off of a decent outing. The only weird thing is that whole, record losing streak here. I don't know how much they care about it. I don't know how much the Athletics care about it. So there may be some sympathy play going on here, but we'll just have to see. I'm probably siding with the Athletics minus 1.5, though. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. The Tigers come into this game fresh off of losing 3 out of 4 there against the Royals. They're 53 and 60 on the year, handing the ball to Keter Montero, who's 1-5 this season with a 6.18 ERA. His last start was against the Royals. He did last 7 innings, but he gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits and a home run. He's given up at least 1 home run in each of his last 4 starts, and he's given up a grand total of 7 home runs over that span. So, yeah, definitely some problems there. The Tigers bullpen, not great, guys. No major surprise there. Bottom 10 in the majors with a 4.23 bullpen ERA. And This offense obviously missing Riley Green. He's been taking live batting practice, but he has yet to actually be, like running hard out there in the outfield. So we don't know when we're going to see him back there. It could be any game now, though. So, just going to have to keep your eyes peeled and see what his status is at game time. But overall, not an offense that we're very excited about, guys. 2, 6, 2, 1, and 0 runs respectively over their last several games. And they're going up against the Mariners team that's got a pretty good pitching staff. They are coming off of a 6-0 loss against the Phillies, but they won 2 out of 3 in that series. They've now got a game and a half lead over the floundering Houston Astros. The Mariners are 59-54 this year, handing the ball to Luis Castillo, who's 9-10 on the season with a 3.43 ERA. He's coming off of a decent start at Boston, guys. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs allowed. He hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs in any of his last 5 starts, and the Mariners are 3-2 over those last 5 starts. He's looked good out there, no doubt about it. The dude is a monster. Expecting good stuff from him in this game for sure. Also expecting good stuff from that Seattle Mariners bullpen that's been solid all season long. And the offense, guys, seems like it's in much better shape now. I mean, obviously, losing 6-0, getting shut out there in the last game isn't a great look, but they've scored 0, 6, 10, 3, and 10 runs respectively over their last several games. Nothing wrong with that. There's still bad numbers over the course of the season, but this offense is much better than those numbers would indicate. So no big shocker to see the Mariners as huge favorites here. They're minus 205. The Tigers are plus 180. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. Honestly, in terms of the over-under, I do like over 7.5 a good amount. In terms of the side, obviously, if you're going to want to take Seattle, you're going to want to take the minus 1.5. And if you do take a minus 1.5, you can get them at plus 105. And at home, where Seattle is 33-24 at home this season, seems pretty appealing to me, guys. I would say the Mariners minus 1.5 definitely have a chance to end up here in the pinned comment. Not loving what I'm seeing from Keter Montero there for the Tigers. Last but not least here, guys, we're looking at the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Phillies come into this game fresh off of a 5-3 loss there in Game 1 of this series. They're handing the ball to Christopher Sanchez in this game. He's 7-7 on the year with a 3.36 ERA. His last start was against the Yankees. He did not have a good time out there. 5 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs allowed. Clearly not his best stuff. Back before the All-Star break, he did have a good start against the Dodgers, though. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. In a game the Phillies won 4-3, but yeah, the Phillies are facing all kinds of problems right now, guys. Their bullpen has not shaped up the way they hoped it would this season. A 4.03 ERA coming out of the pen is bad. The offense is also nowhere to be found, guys. 3, 6, 5, 2, 5, and 6 runs respectively over their last several games is not what the doctor ordered for the Phillies. They're still 7th in the majors in runs scored and 7th in the majors in slugging percentage, but absolutely not hitting the ball well at the moment. So we'll see what they can do here going up against the Dodgers, who have now won 3 in a row. We saw an emotional Freddie Freeman back. Really tough stuff there for his son. Hopefully things work out there. In terms of the pitching matchup here, we've got the Dodgers giving the ball to Clayton Kershaw. He's 0-1 in the season with a 5.87 ERA. Got off to a good start with a solid game against the Giants, but backed that up with a terrible start against San Diego Padres. 3 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 7 runs allowed. Only 3 of them were earned, but yeah, clearly did not have his best stuff out there. So not expecting miracles from him as he settles back into his season. The Dodgers bullpen is 5th in the majors with a 3.57 bullpen ERA. Going up against the Phillies hitters probably feels like a relatively easy task at the moment for the Dodgers, but yeah, I mean, that's maybe not going to go on forever here. The Phillies do have some very, very good bats in that lineup. In terms of their bats, guys, the Dodgers have scored 5, 3, and 10 runs over their last few games. Obviously, having Freeman back helps a lot. They're 4th in the majors in runs scored, 10th in the majors in batting average, and 2nd in the majors getting on base at a 333 clip as a team. So looking at the numbers for this game, we've got the Phillies at minus 104, the Dodgers at minus 112. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this one. The Phillies are 27-24 on the road. The Dodgers are 34-19 at home. We see both teams showing trends towards the over. I do think over 8.5 is very much in play for this game, but the side is really what I'm interested in, guys. I think I like the Phillies minus 104. I think we're going to see a bounce back here from Sanchez against a team that he's had success against this season, and I think we're going to see the Phillies bullpen do a little bit better and the Dodgers bats kind of take the night off. So give me the Phillies minus 104 as a small lean in this one. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.